In 1823, in the highlands of Kenya, a woman made a choice that should have ended her life. 2 shells. That was all she had left. Enough to buy grain for 1 more week, or to give away and watch her children starve. Common sense said keep them. Survival said protect them. Every part of her screamed no. But she opened her hands anyway. What followed defied everything we know about how the world works. In the next 72 hours, a village changed. A kingdom rose. And a law older than money itself revealed its power. This isn't a myth. Point 3 ancient oral traditions, Kikuyu, Yoruba, Maasai, all tell the same story. Different tongues, same miracle. A woman who broke the laws of survival and rewrote the laws of wealth. They say even the spirits bowed that day, not out of pity, but out of respect. Because what she did touched something so deep, so universal, that the universe itself responded. This isn't about charity. It's about power, the kind we've forgotten how to use. The power hidden in open hands. And her name was Wanjiru, the poor widow who had nothing, yet gave everything, and proved that the path to abundance begins where fear ends. "73 years before Wanjiru was born, the curse began. It started here, in Lagos, Nigeria, the beating heart of West African trade. A place where gold changed hands faster than mercy, and fortunes rose with the tide. In the center of this chaos stood a man named Okoye, a merchant so rich they said he could smell profit before it arrived. His caravan stretched across deserts, his ships across oceans. He was not just wealthy, he was legend. But Okoye believed the world was divided, lions and prey. And he had chosen to hunt. When the rains failed and famine swept across the land, his barns burst with grain, while fields turned to dust. From Nigeria to Mombasa, crops withered, cattle fell, and children's cries replaced the songs of harvest. Still, Okoye counted his wealth by firelight. To him, hunger was not tragedy, it was opportunity. They came to trade what little they had for food, but Okoye raised the price with every tear that fell. He watched their suffering like a man watching rain fill his cup. But one night, the wind changed. And with it came an old woman, the oracle, Aya Agba. Barefoot, her gray hair braided tight, beads clicking as she walked. She warned him that wealth hoarded is like water trapped in a calabash, it rots. That abundance must flow, or it poisons the hand that holds it. But Okoye laughed. He had no room for wisdom he could not count or weigh. That night, the ancestors rose. Through Aya Agba's voice, they spoke judgment. You have forgotten the first law, that we are one people. You hoard while others starve. So let your wealth become your curse. Lightning tore the sky open. 3 days later, they found him dead, his mouth filled with gold coins, his body stiff among sacks of grain. That his sons inherited his fortune, but it slipped through their fingers like sand. The curse crossed deserts and seas, spreading like smoke, until the storm reached the highlands, and a child named Wanjiru was born. In the village of Morenga, where the mountains touched the clouds, a child was born into quiet poverty. Her name was Wanjiru, the great-great-granddaughter of Okoye. Her father tilled red earth with his bare hands. Her mother shaped clay into pots that carried other people's water. She was different. Her eyes were deep, curious, almost too aware. She saw pain where others saw routine. When others walked past the hungry, she stopped. One market day, she gave away her mother's finest pot to a traveler from the Maasai plains. He was exhausted, carrying a sick child on his back. Her mother wept, but Wanjiru only said he needed it more. Days later, he returned, rich, strong, grateful. 5 cattle followed him. His daughter had lived. He said the gods had blessed him because of her kindness. For 2 years, her family prospered, until the cattle fell ill, and the crops failed once more. The curse had only slept. But even in loss, Wanjiru kept giving. A handful of food here, a pot there, always with that same quiet smile. Wanjiru grew into a woman with grace carved from hardship. At 21, she married Mwangi, a gentle farmer whose laughter carried like birdsong. Together, they built a life beside the river, a hut, a small field, and love that felt eternal. Their son was born healthy and strong. They named him Karanja, and for the first time in generations, the curse seemed broken. But fate remembers. A drought came. The river thinned. Then illness followed, creeping through the village like shadow. Within a season, Wanjiru buried both her husband and her child. 2 graves beneath one tree. The village whispered she was cursed. Even those she had helped turned away. Still, she shaped clay, sold what she could, and gave what little she made to others. And the laughter that once filled her home vanished into the wind. They called her foolish. But Wanjiru knew generosity was not her weakness. It was the only reason her heart still beat. For 7 years, the world forgot Wanjiru. She lived alone, her name spoken only in whispers. Each day, she walked to the river barefoot, filling her pot, grateful simply to see another dawn. She ate once a day, sang to the silence, and kept a fire burning through every night. The wind carried voices, faint echoes of her ancestors, as if testing her faith. The curse watched her, but could not touch her. She had learned something Okoye never did. That true wealth is the peace left behind after giving. By the 7th year, the air around her began to shimmer. Her small acts of kindness had reached the unseen. The ancestors stirred. The curse trembled. And one night, her prayer rose like smoke, not asking for food, but for strength to keep giving, even when there was nothing left to give. On the 7th night of the 7th year, the world grew still, as if Africa herself held her breath. Inside, Wanjiru sat by her fading fire, whispering a final prayer. "If this is my end," she said, "let it end with an open hand." A gentle wind entered through no door, and from that wind came a voice older than time, the same voice that once cursed her bloodline. "You have poured until you were empty," it said. "You have given without measure. And in your emptiness, you have become a river that never runs dry." She fell to her knees, not in fear but in awe. The air thickened with warmth and light. The ancestors had come, and the curse was ready to die. "The curse is not in your blood," the voice said. "It is in your fear, and fear no longer rules you." Outside, the wind roared. Mount Kenya glimmered in the distance. And from Wanjiru's heart, a river of light flowed upward, rising into the night like song. When dawn came, the hut was empty. Only a single clay pot remained beside the ashes, and within it, 2 cowrie shells, shining softly in the morning sun. And so the circle closed. What began in greed ended in grace. And a poor widow taught Africa and the world that true wealth is not what we keep, but what we release. At sunrise, the villagers awoke to silence. No smoke from Wanjiru's fire, no sound from her hut, only stillness, and the faint scent of burnt clay carried on the wind. Curiosity drew them closer. They expected to find her weak, perhaps gone in the night, but inside, there was no body, no trace. Only a single clay pot beside the ashes of her hearth. Whispers spread like fire. The widow had vanished. Some said the spirits had taken her. Others said the earth had opened to receive her. But all agreed on one thing. The air around her home felt alive. When the oldest elder stepped forward, he touched the pot, and warmth flooded his hand. In that moment, his eyes filled with tears. He turned to the crowd and said, "This woman has given so much. Even the ancestors could no longer ignore her." From that day, the rains returned, not in storms, but in gentle, steady showers that nourished the earth. Crops sprouted where the soil had long been dead. The river, once a thin whisper, began to sing again. And in the heart of the village, they built a shrine around Wanjiru's clay pot, a small place of offering and gratitude. No idols, no gold, only 2 cowrie shells resting in the bowl of earth. They called it the Shrine of the Open Hands. And from that day, no one in Moringa went hungry again. Those who gave received. Those who shared prospered. The curse was gone, replaced by a rhythm of giving and abundance. Generations passed. The story of Wanjiru became legend, a tale whispered at dusk by mothers to their children, a lesson carved into the heart of the land itself. They said the rains that blessed the soil were her tears, still falling, still nourishing. They said when a hand gives in kindness, Wanjiru's spirit smiles somewhere beyond the veil. The cowrie shells remained untouched in the shrine for over a century. Pilgrims came from far and wide, farmers, traders, kings, to lay their offerings beside them, not for wealth, but for wisdom. Because in the end, Wanjiru had proven what generations had forgotten. That wealth was never the grain in Okoye's barns, nor the gold in his hands. Wealth was the peace that comes when fear no longer decides who we are. In time, the legend reached far beyond Kenya, to the Yoruba who remembered Okoye's fall, to the Maasai who spoke of the trader's miracle, to the Zulu, Igbo, and Shona who saw her as one of their own. Each culture gave her a new name, but her lesson never changed. Give and the world opens. Clutch and it closes. That law, older than gold, older than kings, was restored through the life of a poor widow who chose compassion over survival. They say her spirit walks when a gift is given without expectation, that she appears as wind that cools a sweating brow, as rain that falls when no clouds are in sight, as peace that settles after generosity. The ancestors still sing her name in the rhythm of the drum. Each beat is a reminder that to give is to live, and to live is to belong. They sing for Wanjiru, for the widow who gave until the earth itself remembered kindness. And when the drum stops, her story continues, in every open hand, in every heart that chooses love over fear. Morning returns to the land that once knew famine. The same soil that bore curses now breathes abundance. The same wind that once carried sorrow now carries songs. Generations have passed since Wanjiru vanished, but her spirit still moves, unseen, unforgotten. They say when the first light of dawn touches the rivers, it is her hands washing the world clean of greed once more. Her story is no longer a tale whispered only by firelight, It has become a rhythm in the heart of Africa itself, a song that rises in harvest time, a memory carried in the hum of every mother who feeds another's child. Wanjiru's shrine still stands, small and humble, its clay walls weathered by centuries of rain. Inside, 2 cowrie shells still rest in the same pot she left behind, untouched, unbroken, glowing faintly beneath the flicker of the fire. Pilgrims still come from across the continent, from the deserts of Niger, the coasts of Ghana, the valleys of Uganda. They arrive barefoot, carrying gifts not of gold, but of grain, water, song, and prayer. Each one kneels, whispering the same words, "Teach me to give without fear." The shrine has no priest, no rule, no walls of stone. It is not a place of worship, it is a mirror. Those who come empty leave full. Those who come proud leave humbled. And every visitor feels the same warmth. The warmth that once filled a poor widow's hut in the dark of night. The people say the land itself remembers her kindness. In every harvest, a portion is always left behind for birds, for strangers, for those unseen but never forgotten. No hand leaves the market empty. No child cries alone, because when one gives, 10 receive. And when 10 give, the world becomes whole again. Across Africa, her name changed, but her story did not. To the Yoruba, she became Ebony, the woman whose heart fed a nation. To the Shona, Nyasha, the spirit of mercy. To the Igbo, Neoma, the mother who never left. And to her own people, she remains Wanjiru, the poor widow who broke a law no king dared to challenge. Each generation finds her again, in kindness offered without question, in food shared before counting, in the simple courage of an open palm. Her lesson endures, that generosity is not the act of the wealthy, but the language of the wise. That love is not weakness, it is the oldest strength on earth. That true wealth has never been gold, but peace, the kind that humbles kings and heals generations. And so, when the rains fall over Moringa, the people lift their faces to the sky and smile, because they know it is Wanjiru's blessing returning again. The ancestors still sing her name in the rhythm of the drum. They sing it in markets and in churches, in mosques and in the rustle of trees, in the hum of the wind before the storm. They sing to remind us that to give is to live, and to live is to belong. And when the last drumbeat fades, when the night becomes still, the land listens, and her voice rises once more. Remember, she whispers, that true fortune is not what you hold, but what you release. Not the gold you guard, but the kindness you give when no one is watching. So when the world feels cold, and hearts grow hard, remember her story. Remember the widow who gave everything, and became the richest soul who ever lived. Because somewhere beyond the horizon, where the ancestors walked barefoot through eternity, Wanjiru still smiles, her hands open, her spirit endless, her light unbroken. Till next time, we will be bringing you more African stories. Kindly subscribe and leave a comment.